Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the KSR Zoom Action Podcast, our basketball breakdown show. As always, I'm Zack Geoghegan, joined by my host, Brandon Ramsey. Brandon, let's just start. How are you doing? Did you have a fun weekend? I know you went to a couple of sporting events in Lexington over the last few days. How were those?
I went to two sporting events. Kentucky won both of them. One of those was a home SEC football game against a
That's
college
rare.
called Florida, and that was pretty exciting. But heck, I mean, scored 107 points against Valparaiso should not be outshined either. So yeah, it's always good when you get the double dip. Plus, shout out volleyball, beat
Yeah.
Tennessee, I believe.
Yes.
Shout out women's basketball, 2-0 start, I believe.
hmm
So everybody's winning in Lexington. We love that.
Even men's soccer, they won in penalty kicks in the first round of the Sun Belt Conference tournament yesterday. So I think UK as a whole went like 6-0 or something on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in sports. So yeah, good weekend for the Cats. But what we're here to talk about is Kentucky men's basketball's first two games of the 25-26 season. Matt G already in here calling us crazy for doing this at 9:30 a.m. Hey, we got to push things together here with Louisville coming up tomorrow night. So we dove into the film room and we've pieced together a couple of things that we're going to talk about in today's episode. Mainly going over, as you can see on the topics there on the right side of the screen, breaking down how the offense looked without Jaylen Low, especially in that first half against Nicholls, where things were just not going well for Kentucky's offense. And then we've got a handful of clips with Jaylen Low and against Valparaiso and how he really changed the pace of Kentucky's offense. Then we'll dive into a few defensive clips that stood out for us, and then we're gonna do a little hyping up for Jasper Johnson and Malachi Moreno because they've looked pretty solid to start the season so far. Malachi in particular. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I got an ad read to do, Brandon. So I'm gonna do this one again real quick. I think I didn't listen back to when I did it the first time because I was too embarrassed to. So hopefully I kill this one just as well as I did the first one. But yes, our friendly sponsor, LG&E KU. LG&E and KU knows that when the lights go out, it can feel like a full court press, but staying in the net. Update your phone number in the LG&E and KU mobile app or in My Account. If the power goes out, you'll get play-by-play text from 454-358 with outage updates, safety information, and time estimates for power restoration. Can't text? No problem. We'll call the landline in your account with the same updates so you're never left in the dark. Because in the dark, there's no defense. Not like this Kentucky team, though. They got plenty of defense. But with LG&E and KU, you've always got a team working to get the lights back on and let you know the game plan. Update your number today at lge-ku.com/outages. And you're going to need KU right now because it is 25 degrees here in Lexington, Kentucky. It is absolutely freezing. There was actually some snow going on last night. But Brandon, let's go ahead and start diving into things here. So, like I said, we're going to go back to the first half of that Nicholls game, which was not a fun one, if we're being honest. So, Brandon, this is a play that you picked out. This is basically just, I'll set the stage here. What happens is, as you can tell, you've got no Denzel Aberdeen, no Jaylen Low on the floor here right now. A shout out to Zero Ball Zero for providing us with the video footage, as always. But so you don't have any point guard here on the floor here for Kentucky. Nicholls misses this shot. You get Trent Noah grabbing the rebound, and then they kind of just waltz their way up the floor a little bit. Like Trent, I think, even dishes this ball to Brandon Garrison pretty much immediately. The offense just doesn't have any pace, and then from there, everything is stagnant and slow. So I'm going to let it play here, and then Brandon, you can kind of tell us what you thought of, or I guess why this just can't happen moving forward, and why this won't happen when you've got guys like Jaylen Low and Denzel Aberdeen in the game.
Yeah, I think we pretty quickly on Tuesday night, I guess it was, against Nicholls, I think we pretty quickly realized that Kentucky offensively is going to need some combination of Denzel Aberdeen, Jaylen Low, and Jasper Johnson in the game. At least one of those three, probably preferably two of those three in there at the same time because there's just not enough playmaking with those guys. And if you'll go back to the start of this clip, Zach, and maybe pause it right when they throw the ball to Brandon Garrison.
Okay.
There's a couple of things I want to talk about as we kind of get through this play. First, right here. I like Brandon Garrison as a half-court initiator. I think that he continues to get better and better at making reads, especially off of a catch in the half court. He's good at hitting those backdoor passes. He's not a Mario Williams, but we don't need him to be a Mario Williams. He can hit backdoor passes. He's good at getting into the handoffs. He's good in some get actions. He's really good on the ball screen and roll. We saw him finish a couple dunks on the roll against Valparaiso, especially. That's where he excels. When you throw him the ball in the backcourt, it really bogs down this Kentucky offense, in my opinion, because while he's comfortable doing some of those things in the half court, he's not super comfortable like handling it in a straight line, having to dribble it 4, 5, 6 times, and then initiate offense because he's not as good of a decision maker from a live dribble, and he just is going to operate slower with the ball in his hands, obviously, than a guard would. So I really don't like seeing when Kentucky gets the ball to Brandon Garrison in the backcourt. Now let it play a little bit and get to where Otega-Oweh comes off of the ball screen, right? Maybe go a couple clicks. Okay. Like here, Otega-Oweh is looking to throw it back, but Colin Chandler's all the way in the corner. As that ball screen happens, Colin Chandler needs to be lifting up to the wing, kind of like where Otega-Oweh is looking. If Colin Chandler lifts up to the wing there, he probably has a 3 because the problem is right now, Colin Chandler's man can both take away Brandon Garrison on that roll and kind of guard Colin Chandler in the corner. Now, if Colin Chandler lifts up to the wing, you have much more of a decision to make as a defender. Do I tag and take away Brandon Garrison on the roll? If so, then Otega-Oweh reads that, hits Colin Chandler, who knocks in a 3. Or the guy stays with Colin Chandler, and you probably can get Brandon Garrison for a dunk on the roll. So not only was this kind of a slower paced Kentucky possession, but then you also just got some honestly bad execution in the half court. Now let's go a little bit further here. You end up throwing the ball all the way to the corner. Now let's pause it right now. Look at where Brandon Garrison is now. He's going against a guy who I believe is like a 6'7" guard. Like number 24 is actually a shooter for Nicholls. He needed to throw his butt into number 24 on that roll and bury him on the block with 2 feet in the paint. Instead, he lets himself just kind of wander out to 15 feet, and now look at where he gets this catch in a much less advantageous position. So now he ends up having to drive it, and we turn it over. Like, one of 2 things should have happened, or probably one of 3 things should have happened on this possession. Either Colin Chandler gets a 3 on the wing, Brandon Garrison gets a dunk on the roll, or Brandon Garrison posts up on the block and gets an entry pass from Colin Chandler and scores it with 2 feet in the paint. Unfortunately, none of those things happened. It all started with kind of some poor pace to begin with. And again, I thought, that first segment against Nicholls that felt like it was never going to end because we didn't get a media timeout until like 14:24 or something like that. And without Denzel Aberdeen in there, without Jasper Johnson in there, obviously Jaylen Low wasn't even available in that game. But I think like I immediately went to Twitter and was like, let's not see this lineup anymore because you just need some more playmaking in there than what that group gave you. And obviously with Jaylen Low coming back, that makes it easier to not see that lineup. But and Denzel Aberdeen was coming off the injury as well. But I think it's safe to say we're probably not going to see that 5-man lineup a whole lot this season.
Right. So let me kind of ask you a question here as we let this play out. I guess, is the ideal scenario here where after Otega comes off this screen here, you see the Nicholls corner, the Nicholls player kind of cheating off Colin there. With Colin rising all the way up, you drag that defender with him and you hit BG on the roll there, like kind of with a little lob pass. Is that probably the ideal outcome that you're looking for on this play?
Honestly, like, yeah, with it paused right here, like, I don't necessarily think there is an ideal scenario. You're just reading that guy. And, if Colin Chandler's on the wing instead of in the corner, then, okay, yeah, if that defender's where he's at right now, then you get Colin Chandler for a 3. But with Colin Chandler lifting up, maybe that guy would have gone with him, and then you get Brandon Garrison on the roll. So it's not really about, like, which one do you want. Just as the ball handler coming off, that's what you're reading. And unfortunately here, because Chandler didn't lift up to the wing, there was really no read to make because nobody was in position. And then, like I said, then it leads to, on that roll, Garrison, like, look at where he is right now. He's in pretty good position. If he's, like, really physical and throws his shoulders back and buries that guy right there, then this all kind of ends up still working out. Colin Chandler can throw it into the post, and he's in a much better position, but he just kind of is a little soft on this play and drifts out to 15 feet. So, yeah, it was just kind of a little bit of a wreck from the beginning, just in terms of the execution. Again, we're not trying to pile on one possession, but it's just an example of when the playmakers aren't in there, the way that things can look. And we know, like, the offense stunk in the first half against Nicholls. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. this is just an example of some of the problems that we saw. And then, as this episode goes on, we're going to, show how some things got better.
Yeah, like one thing you'll notice from this possession is your guards don't really get in and get a paint touch. The only paint touch is when Brandon Garrison loses the ball at the end there. And then we'll contrast that with the plays that we're about to show you where paint touches come a little bit easier. So give me a second here while I add some different things to the stage here, or try to do that real quick.
Producing on the fly. I love it, Zack.
Producing on the fly. We're going to go to the Valpo game here. Boom. I'll throw her up. I think I already have this play lined up for us. So we are pretty early on, kind of in a similar spot as that Nicholls game. Like, we're still in the first, or actually we might have had a timeout. Yeah, because Jaylen Low's already in. So we've already had like a little timeout. Jaylen Low's been able to check in. This is just a similar-ish type play where Kentucky gets the ball off a missed shot here, or it might even be a make. Yeah, it's off a make, but look how I think the difference here that we're trying to point out is the pace that is emphasized when Jaylen Low's in the game. So this ball goes in, and look how quickly Jaylen Low's already running before he even gets the ball. You are already putting pressure on this Valpo defense here, and basically the way that Jaylen Low just kind of works things around around the perimeter there, gets himself in, kicks it out, doesn't see what he likes initially, so they just reset everything. And you get the ball back into Jaylen Low's hands. Brandon Garrison does a nice job of initiating it. Jaylen Low gets his paint touch. Denzel Aberdeen's wide open for a three. Boom. Brandon and I both picked out this play, actually, when we were doing our rewatch. This was one that we both liked. So, Brandon, I'm going to rewind it here. You tell me to stop and start, and we'll let you dissect.
All right. Yep, let's do it. So let's run it real quick. I'm going to have you stop it here pretty quick right now. Perfectly executed by Jaylen Low. Teams that want to play fast, coaches always talk about they want your shoulders parallel to the sidelines because they want you ready to go. So he's there kind of parallel to the sidelines, and he's looking for that ball ready to roll. And he's out kind of on the sideline, ready to move it up the court quickly. And now run this a little bit further here. You can see like Jaylen Low is in the scoring area right now, 27 seconds on the shot clock. He hits BG, gets it back. Let's go to that point right now. So we're at 25 seconds on the shot clock. Like, Brandon Garrison still had the ball in the backcourt in that last clip at 25. And here you've already passed it twice and you're into that ball screen. If you can go back to that initial ball screen, Zack, where Jaylen Low comes off. Yep, right here. So again, we're starting so much quicker, and he's able to get downhill a little bit, but Valpo collapses. I mean, look away, they're collapsing in there to kind of cut off that Jaylen Low drive, and he makes a good decision to sort of live to fight another day and move it out to Otega Oweh. And now watch them kind of move the chess pieces around. Otega Oweh points, he wants to change sides of the floor. Brandon Garrison's putting people in the right move. Pause it right here. Sorry. Oh,
I'll go back. I got you.
Yep. So you get that zoom action. Jaylen Low comes off. Just such an easy paint touch. And then now, again, it's all about reading the defense. And Jaylen Low is reading Denzel Aberdeen's defender, and he pretty much has 2 feet in the paint. Like, okay, yeah, I can't turn the corner and lay this up, but now you're leaving a pretty solid 35% catch-and-shoot shooter literally wide open in the corner. It's actually not the greatest pass. Denzel Aberdeen has to reach his left arm out and to catch it here, but he's still so open that he's able to knock it in. So to me, this is all about the pace in which you get into your offense. Again, like the ball had already been moved to Brandon Garrison, back to Jaylen Low, and you're into a ball screen really before the ball was even across half court in that last clip. And then you change sides of the floor after that initial ball screen. You get it back. You get into some zoom action. Now you're able to get, like, we didn't necessarily get a paint touch on that first look, but then the ball changes sides of the floor. You get a reversal. You get that paint touch on the second look. Like, those are the things that your elementary and junior high basketball coaches talk about. It's like, hey, a lot easier to attack the defense after we, get some ball reversals. And, your junior high coach made you pass the ball 5 times before you could shoot and all these different things. And like Kentucky's showing, even at the highest levels of college basketball, that stuff still works. Great paint touch by Jaylen Low. And that's what he's going to do all season to defenses, is make them make decisions. Like, do I want to let Jaylen Low try to finish it at the rim, which he did a couple of times later on against Valparaiso, or do we want to collapse in and make him be a passer? But then now we're giving up open shots to guys that he's going to find all day long. And obviously against Valparaiso, Kentucky did a better job of knocking in those open shots than certainly they did early on against Nicholls. And I think Jaylen Low is certainly a part of that, because he just gets guys open shots. So it was great to see him in there. Obviously, it was still kind of limited minutes off the bench. I believe he finished with 6 points and 5 assists. But to me, you really saw the impact in a lot of different ways that Jaylen Lowe is going to have on this team offensively.
Yeah, and sorry, Steven, I've been messing with the boxes here. You might have to move us back around in a minute, but and I think Jaylen Lowe even had a similar type play, maybe in the second half or something like that against Valpo, where he whipped another left-handed pass. I think it was to Colin Chandler in the corner for maybe a three, or maybe on the wing over there. So that's something that you're starting to see almost regularly just through one game with him. And I'll move us ahead to our next play here. It's actually just a minute later in this game. Sticking with the Jaylen Lowe, just kind of sticking with the pushing the pace aspect, and Malachi Moreno gets some love here as well for doing the moving screen stuff that we've been coming to talk about. That's kind of a moving screen, but doesn't get called, so who cares? Thank you, Steven, for fixing that for me. Let's run this play here. This is another off a missed shot here. Again, I hit the wrong button there. But yeah, so as off the missed shot here again, you're going to see Jaylen Lowe once again. Moreno gets the rebound. Look what Jaylen Lowe's already doing. Already pushing the pace, already running up the floor. Nice hit-ahead pass here for Malachi. Again, doesn't see exactly what he wants in the paint there, so he just kicks it back out. Then you get into your offense. What I like about Jaylen Lowe here is he does not stop moving once. Like, just always quick movement stuff. Like, that's something that, Steph Curry has really tried to, or he's helped revolutionize the game away, and just his ability to continue to move off of space. Obviously not even near the caliber of shooter as Steph Curry, but kind of in that similar vein of, if you're always working, you're always making the defense move. And the defense was out of sorts here. I mean, look, you've got Jaylen Lowe's got his defender on his butt here. Malachi goes in and does his little moving screen for just an easy layup for Jaylen Lowe. So, and this all happens with, look, you're at 20 seconds on the shot clock here, and Kentucky had already gotten inside the perimeter multiple times before Jaylen Lowe was able to get this score. And just another savvy move from Malachi. And Brandon Garrison does this exact same play too. They've both, I think, how many times have we already talked about something similar, this moving screen type? I think this is the third time in just 3 Zoom Action episodes that we've already talked about this. So this is not like by accident or anything. This is something that's designed, obviously, within their offense and to get their guards free, or just easy looks, cleaner looks by clearing some space down low. So, Brandon, I don't know how much you looked into this one ahead of time, but you can go ahead if there's anything on this one you want to point out and talk about. Let's go for it here. I'll let the play run through as Malachi gets his rebound.
Yeah, I actually wrote about this one in my film breakdown on KentuckySportsRadio.com, so people can go get some further thoughts on it there. But I mean, the ball gets into the scoring area again, like 27, 28 seconds. Jaylen Lowe gets a paint touch at like 26 seconds on the shot clock. Kentucky passes the ball 4 times by the time it gets to 23 on the shot clock. Like, that's just so hard to guard. That puts so much pressure on the defense. And then a couple of things on the ball screen here. First off, the way Jaylen Lowe so quickly snakes it back around to his left hand is pretty cool. Then Malachi Moreno finishes his pause it right there if you can. Malachi Moreno finishes his rim or his roll at the rim, which takes out Shantapula. Shout out Brownsburg, Indiana kid. But he's a pretty good rim protector. Like, he was one of the best big man in NAIA last season. Averaged like 14 points and 12 rebounds on a Sweet 16 team. Was really good at the rim. But then what I really want to focus on here, we just talked about Jaylen Lowe reading that defender as he gets downhill. If you remember in that last clip, Denzel Aberdeen's man, essentially this exact same situation, like Jaylen Lowe driving it left to the rim. Denzel Aberdeen's guy had 2 feet in the paint. Well, probably because of Valparaiso's scouting report, they were more willing to help off of Denzel Aberdeen, but they wanted to tighten up a little bit to Cam Williams. Now, Cam Williams is going to have to make some shots.
In hindsight,
or we might, we might start differentiating that a little bit. But right now, teams are going to still treat him as a big time catch and shoot threat, especially in the strong side corner. So you see that defender start to retreat, and that signals to Jaylen Lowe, like, all right, I'm just going to lay this one up. So, it's 2 different plays, but we got to literally the exact same position on these last 2 clips that we've shown here. One time, the defender helps all the way in, so you get a Denzel Aberdeen 3. The next time, the guy retreats to Cam Williams, and Jaylen Lowe lays it up. So, that just shows the value of having a playmaker like Jaylen Lowe in there, that he's able to, on a possession-by-possession basis, make the right read on what the defense is giving him. And it just puts, again, so much pressure on the defense to make these tough decisions. Like, there's no kind of winning decision there. It's just like the lesser of two evils. Like, well, do I want to let a really good shooter take a wide open three, or do I want to give up a layup? Like, well, both of those options stink. But that's what happens when you're playing a really good offense. Is you're just kind of you're picking the lesser of two evils and just hoping for the best. And that's what an offense led by Jaylen Low really makes you do defensively.
Yeah. And I mean, look, this is 28 seconds on the shot clock, and Jaylen Low's already across half court here. And, it's basically like a 1-on-2, 1-on-3 at this point for Jaylen Low. And it's just easy, smart offense from a guy who's played 70 college basketball games to realize, okay, let's drive in, collapse the defense a little bit, find somebody and pass the ball back out, live to fight another day, and then immediately get back into your action again. So, you're not going to see that from even maybe Jasper Johnson could pull that off, but, you're not like Jaylen Lowe is probably the only guy on this roster that you would trust to make these type of plays, especially when they're trying to move that fast. But also great, I think, another underrated job from Malachi here. Like, first of all, like, good defense as well, or solid defense there from Jasper, but to have the awareness to just pick this ball up, immediately look ahead, and I mean, that's not an easy pass outlet for a 7-footer. But Malachi's just, I mean, as the season goes along, we're gonna realize quickly that these sort of passes are just, that's his bag, is just making tough passes. So, or tough passes for a 7-footer. So, yes, that's just the obvious difference when Jaylen Low's in the game, is the offense just wants to move quicker. All right, Brandon, should we transfer over to some defense talk now?
Let's talk some defense.
Let's do it. Let me do this on the fly here again. I got to switch back to the Nicholls game. I'll get us going. We're going to go to – whoops, I just added Steven to the stream there. Sorry, Steven. I'm sure you got some takes, but,
I do, actually, and some people have some questions in the chat. I just told them we'll save them for the end. But Matt had a really good question. I started, so if you guys want to get to that at the end of the show.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely do that.
For sure.
Absolutely. Let's see here. So let's start.
Keep dropping your questions, and we'll definitely get to a couple as we wrap up.
Yeah, we might do a little Louisville talk at the end here. We'll see kind of how we're doing on time. Okay, so this is Brandon. This was the defensive play you queued up here. I think this one ends with a Ortega-Owe steal. So I'll just let it play out here. Let's rewind it a little bit here so we can get to the start of the whole defensive possession. Pretty good record there for Mark Pope at Rupp Arena. And then Brandon, we can just let this play out here for a second, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we can watch it through. But I mean, we know the offense stunk, as we said in the first half against Nicholls, but that does not take away from what the defense did. And I know, everybody and their brother can tell you, it was Nicholls. They stink. All these different things, and that. There's some truth to that. I mean, let's face it, Nicholls is one of the worst teams that he's going to face this season. And they shot, 14% or whatever terrible percentage they shot in the first half. And, some of that is them just not being very good. But there's still some conceptual things that Kentucky showed on film that translate from Nicholls to Louisville to Michigan State to, whoever Kentucky is going to play this season. And we saw a few of those things on this possession. If we can kind of get back to the start here, and we'll roll through, and I'll have you pause it a couple times. But the first one, let's see, right here, pause it. Watch how aggressive Colin Chandler is stepping over there from the weak side to stop this baseline drive. Like, this is textbook practice, like 5-on-0 breakdown stuff, where you want to get outside the restricted art, outside the paint as that weak side defender. Then you kind of you drop on the backside. You see Trent Noah and Ortega-Owe sort of guarding all three guys on the backside as two dudes that they're towards the midline. But Colin Chandler has to be aggressive and decisive to go cut off that baseline drive. And that Nicholls guy, like, he takes maybe one more dribble, and then he retreats because Colin Chandler made him retreat. Like, yeah, I mean, is that Mo Diabate on the ball? He's doing a good job too, but it was really Colin Chandler. And to me, that's something that's been really impressive with this Kentucky team through two games against lesser opponents. They have been very aggressive and decisive. And Zach, you heard me say it a million times last year, often wrong, but never in doubt.
Correct.
And it was something we talked about because I didn't think Kentucky did a very good job at that last year. They were kind of overthinking things, and they would a lot of times they would get sort of stuck in the middle because it's like, well, do I want to close out on the shooter, or do I want to take away the drive? Do I want to go double? Do I want to stay home? All these different things. Like Colin Chandler, I mean, in my opinion, yes, this was the right play, but I don't think he's even worried about whether it was the right play or not. He's just making a decision and freaking going and doing it. And I think that especially against lesser opponents, those things can really be valuable. And he just completely shut down this baseline drive, and then we'll let it play. At that allows Otega Owe then to tighten back up to his man, because that ball handler had to pick up his dribble, and then Owe's off to the races. So just little things like that, and that is team defensive concepts. Like we're talking about Colin Chandler coming from the very weak side. He's guarding the guy like 4 passes away, and he's really the one that set the tone on this defensive play. It's not just all about, excellent on-ball defense, which Kentucky certainly has shown at times this season too. But their aggressive and decisiveness off of the ball really has been impressive with a 2-game sample size now to start the year.
Yeah, just some minor things that at least I've noticed, and Brandon, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. This isn't the first clip that we'll show either where Mo Diabate is just in the face of his defender or the guy with the ball. Like he's very aggressive. He plays aggressive, and I think that was probably part of the reason he got into some foul trouble. Had 0 fouls in this game against Nicholls, by the way. I think he ended up with 3 or 4 against Valpo, but 0 fouls in this game, so that's always what you want to see out of him. But just always up in his guys' grill and makes them almost maybe a little bit extra pressure there. I like Trent Noah keeping his head up on a swivel here so he can tag this guy that's cutting in at number 22. And like you said, then you have Otega kind of playing free safety for 2 guys here. Brandon Garrison is kind of in no man's land a little bit at the end there, but it doesn't really matter because Otega's already there to finish off the play. So this is just some solid overall team defense, you think. And I think it was this group, or maybe I think it was this 5 that Pope in the open practice that we attended, that the media got to go to, where he said this is the 5 that could be one of the best 5 defensive groups in the country. You can kind of take that for what it's worth. Whether he said that out loud knowing that a bunch of media was right there, I'm sure played a part into him saying that, but you can kind of see what he's talking about when you see plays like this, even against a lesser opponent. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into, I'm going to switch streams here one more time. I'm going to get good at this as we continue to go along here. We're going to go to Valpo, and we've got 2 defensive plays from the Valpo game here, and I'm going to have to cue them up real quick. The first one, we will go to the very first possession of the Valpo game, actually. This was a one that Brandon really liked. And I think
setting the tone early.
Yeah, setting the tone early, right off a make as well. Oh, I should probably pull it up here. There we go. Okay. So Kentucky just scored, and I think this is just another – I think this one is – a lot more switching, if I remember, as opposed to the first clip we just showed, where it was more kind of just staying with your guy. I'm pretty sure we see a really good Brandon Garrison guarding. Yes, so out front here. This is my favorite part of this clip, if I'm being honest, is Brandon Garrison doing a great job just moving his feet. Like, as much as I love Malachi Moreno, I don't think he can do that type of stuff just yet, especially against quicker guards. So that's why Brandon's really good at being in there for switching, and he does provide a very noticeable impact on defense when he's able to do stuff like that. But overall, this is just, again, this is team defense stuff. There you had Mo Diabate up in the grill of his guy once again. You get another switch
right there. Boom.
There's Mo in his face, makes him pick up the dribble. Then Colin just does another. Colin Chandler, man, kind of turning into a
He's big time.
Good defender.
Yeah.
Kind of turning into a good defender. And I don't want to let this play go too long. I feel like they might have scored off this, but yes, yeah. So they scored for Colin Chandler 3. Boom. So what a great way to open this game for Kentucky. I mean, they had 5 points in the first 90 seconds. It took them 4 minutes to get 4 points against Nicholls. So, and this is just with having Aberdeen in, as opposed to not having any point guard in at all, essentially. So, Brandon, I'll let this run through here, and you picked this one out as well, I believe. So tell me what you liked about this one.
It's the switching. Anybody that follows me on KS Sport or Twitter or anything, like, as a coach, which I was in a past life, like I'm a big proponent of just switching the ball screens and handoffs, especially when you have an athletic 5-man like Brandon Garrison. I think more times than not, go ahead and pause it right here, Zach. I think more times than not, it's the way to be. It's probably the way I'm going to want to guard Louisville a little bit too. Like, I know, in theory, it could be like, oh, Mikael Brown against Brandon Garrison. Remember what Brandon Garrison did against Jeremiah Fears last year, who's like lighting it up in the NBA at times right now? Like, I'm not scared of Brandon Garrison guard Mikal Brown on a couple possessions. And to me, I think you want to keep a guy on a guy to keep them from shooting threes, not having to help as he drives it. So I think you're going to see, kind of using this as a little bit of a Louisville preview, I think you're going to see situations where Kentucky's going to be very willing to switch against Louisville as well to take away some of their three-point shooting and some of that off-ball kind of decision-making that you would have to make. But Brandon Garrison was excellent switching against Valparaiso. Some I really liked, too, compared to some things last year, again, where I thought Kentucky overthought defensively at times last year, where like as soon as they would switch, it was like they were so concerned about getting switched back that it kind of negated the benefit of switching, because then they would switch back too early. They'd, leave a man wide open underneath the basket. And here they really waited longer. But then this switch by Mo Diabate, for as good as Brandon Garrison's was, like how aggressive he is
it's a
getting
wall
out there.
He ran into.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's times where he could even get called for a foul there because he obviously does make contact with the ball handler, but like it's mostly with his chest, and he just puts this guy completely on his heels and, almost knocks him over, quite frankly. And I just love that aggressiveness, him using his physicality and athleticism as a very, very switchable defender. So with what Mo Diabate can do guarding 1 through 4, even 1 through 5, what Brandon Garrison can do guarding 1 through 4, even 1 through 5, I'm very excited about the switchability. Is that a term?
Absolutely.
Well, at least a versatility,
it is today.
which definitely is a word, of these guys defensively. And not only did you see it against Valparaiso, but I think you're going to get a chance to see how it works on Tuesday night against Louisville as well, because I do think that switching a bunch of the ball screens and handoffs, especially when Brandon Garrison is in there, is going to be a big part of how you guard Louisville.
Absolutely. And then just a couple of other things that I noticed here is you get like a double switch right here on this one. Like Aberdeen has to go through, you got like Aberdeen switches, then Brandon Garrison comes up and switches again. I really love that. And then you have Aberdeen guarding a dude, probably their biggest guy in their team, and he does a great job, I think, of just fighting and making it so where he's between the ball and his guy. Just makes that a really tough pass if you actually want to try and lob it over there. And then you've got Ortega cheating down there as well. So that would be a hard mismatch to try and attack there if you're Valpo. And then again, great defense. Go for it.
Oh, sorry, finish your thought. Then I just want to say something while you're on that point.
No, you go for it.
Okay, so like right now too, and this is going to be true for Louisville as well, because we all know Louisville's weakness would be in their front court. So when you talk about switching, one of the things I like about switching too is that sometimes it almost forces the offense into something that they don't want to be. And Valparaiso, I know Shantapula personally, and he's a good player, but like Valparaiso's plan isn't to throw it to Big Sean 15 times a game and him score it on the low block. Just like Louisville's plan isn't to throw it into their 4s and 5s 15 times. Like that, they want to shoot threes, they want to space it out. So now like you can get obsessed with like, well, like, hey, mismatch, mouse in the house, all this stuff of like getting all excited because a guard's guarding your 6'10" guy. And to me as a Kentucky fan, even against Louisville, I'm like, cool. Like, go throw it to Case and Pryor 15 times, and let's see if he scores enough to win. And that's not even a shot at Case and Pryor. Like go throw it to Ali Khalifa 15 times on the block and see if you win that way. Like, I don't think that that's going to be how you win the game. So I almost hope that teams seek out those mismatches some. And yes, you're right. Denzel Aberdeen did a great job here, kind of fronting the post and being aggressive, and also the way you combat that too with a guy like Brandon Garrison. Like, ball pressure is the best post defender. It's not all the time just sitting behind and having a 7-footer. Like, if you're pressuring the ball, you're staying in front of your man, it's hard to enter the ball into the post. So like, I'm not concerned about having a guard on Big Sean. I'm not afraid of a guard being on some of Louisville's bigs. Like, hey, go away from what you want to do and let's turn this into a post feed battle. Like, as a Kentucky fan, I'm going to sign up for that.
Absolutely. And one other thing I wanted to point out from this is kind of near the end here when I think it's about to come up right here. Like Ortega Owe comes up right there, denies the ball there. I think that's just an extra couple seconds when the shot clock's getting low, where you just force them to get into a bad situation here. And again, Colin Chandler does a great job of keeping himself on the ground there to put up just a terrible shot from Valpo there. So yes, excellent overall defense. And we're going to go into one more from this first half. Let me pull it up here. This was the play that I picked for a defensive stop here. Let's see. I think this is it. I hope this is it. 21-20. Yeah. Okay, so what I really liked about this one was Colin Chandler again, man. Like, it always looks weird whenever he's coming around screens because it looks like it almost looks like he's drifting when he's coming around, like he's a car, like in Fast and Furious, that's drifting around these screens. But, like, just a great job of getting over this and staying in front of the guy and making him reverse course and just making life difficult for him there. Again, Mo Diabate, look where he is. He's in this guy's mouth. Like, it's very difficult to do anything when you're this Valpo guy getting the ball here, when you've got Mo Diabate right in your face there. Just makes him hesitate, tries to go for the backdoor cut there. Denzel Aberdeen, kind of in the same vein as Mo Diabate. Those two guys always have their head on a swivel. And Denzel, I think he almost had this exact same steal later on in the second half as well, but the ball just barely went under his one of his arms. But he's always got his hands up. That's just another benefit of being a guy who's played a bunch of college basketball and knows how to play defense. So even though he almost kind of gets beat there on that backcourt, that back cut, he doesn't at all because just really great instincts from him. And then they go the other way. I don't think they may get like a foul or something here, but nothing really accumulates on offense. But this one was a little bit shorter. But the two things I really liked about it was Colin Chandler coming over this screen here. They didn't switch on that one. And then you've got Mo Diabate come up here just applying immediate ball pressure, making Valpo a little bit uneasy, and then a great defensive stop with the instincts there from Denzel Aberdeen. So, Brandon, I'll run it back one more time, and then you can relay your thoughts as well on this one.
I mean, Colin Chandler on this possession, like that gets me up out of my seat. This dude, he refuses to get screened. Like that's what this is. It's like he's like, oh, cool. You want to set a ball screen? Nah, I'm good. Like he's just athletic and physical enough. He's just going to get up in you. And you're right. It kind of looks like he's on some like bike track, like really drifting in there. But it works, and he plays with so much urgency defensively. That's what makes him like however good of a defender Colin Chandler should be. He's a level above that because he plays with so much urgency. And then there at the end, to me, that's a often wrong but never in doubt play where Denzel Aberdeen, like, yeah, he's out in the passing lane. Like, does he need to be out there in the passing lane against that guy? No, probably not, because he's not going to like burn you from 3-point range. Now, if that's Ryan Conwell on Tuesday night, or if that's McNeely, like, yeah, like I don't mind you getting out there and kind of denying that because we would rather them have to play inside the arc. But then he's just so athletic and has the wherewithal to, oh, shoot, like, I kind of overplayed that a little bit. Let me flip my hips, let me flip my head, get an arm out there. Oh, he just happened to throw it right into my hand. So that all worked out perfectly, both from Colin Chandler and from Denzel Aberdeen. Then Mo Diabate kind of in the middle. Like, what you saw on this possession was effort. And guys just playing so hard that it's going to work out. Is everything absolutely perfect? I don't know. It doesn't have to be. But that's truly the clip you can show as a coach where it's like, hey, if you just play really, really freaking hard, good things are going to happen defensively. And that's exactly what we saw there from Kentucky. And quite frankly, that's what we've seen from Kentucky defensively through 2 games this season. And certainly what you're going to have to see when the offense gets turned up from like the 200th best offense to the top 5 offense in Louisville. It's going to take that level of effort and urgency to take away the Cardinals on Tuesday night.
Yeah, and just to give Colin Chandler a little bit more credit, like, he's probably not like an elite on-ball guy yet, but like you said, I think he works really hard. And we said that, I'm pretty sure one of us said that in our last Zoom action too, like, the benefits are going to happen if you play hard and work hard. Like, things are going to go right more often than not. Another thing is Kentucky's up 22 points here midway through the first half, and they're still fighting that hard on defense. Right. That's another good sign. Obviously, other teams, especially teams like Louisville, they're probably, you're going to have to work even harder to stop them because it's just going to be that much more difficult. But I think the initial signs of what you've seen here are positive, and that's exactly what you want. And we can even throw in the Purdue and maybe the Georgetown game defensively was kind of it was what it was. Like, they just hit a bunch of mid-range shots. Like, it felt like Kentucky was just kind of didn't really have that one mapped out very well. But against Purdue and then the other 2 regular season games, the defense has been really, really impressive, I think. So that's why we wanted to make sure we highlighted that, gave them 3 different clips. But we've got one more clip we're going to go to before we start answering some questions and get out of here, because I got to go talk to Colin Chandler and Otega Owe at Memorial here soon, so we can see what they have to say about the Louisville game. I'm going to ask them about the case on Pryor quote. We have to see what their thoughts on the F them quote are. Let's see here. Where can I go? Where is that play? It is 16-17. So this is a Jasper Johnson / Malachi Moreno shout out, because these two Kentucky kids have, especially Malachi, man, like an 18-10 double-double in his second career college game. Was pretty impressive. I think he had 3 assists as well. Jasper Johnson hit 3 threes against Valpo. I think he was 5 assists, 3 turnover guy. We're about to show you one of those assists right now. But him and Brandon Garrison already have, or not Brandon Garrison, him and Malachi Moreno already have a decent amount of synergy working together. I know Malachi caught a bunch of lobs in this game. I think at least 2 of them came from Jasper Johnson. And this one that we're about to show isn't even a lob. It's just a really good play from Jasper Johnson being crafty and just really good with the ball in his hands. So this is a play here where you don't have one of your traditional Aberdeen or Jaylen Low guys in. So this is kind of what you would hope to see when Jasper Johnson is out there running the show. You've got Colin Chandler kind of in his normal spot as the 2. And it's just a simple kind of pick and roll here with Malachi and Jasper. It doesn't work initially, so Malachi goes and buries his guy into the post there, creates some space for Jasper to just be shifty, do his thing, and be, kind of the just the crazy shot maker that we know. But he doesn't even need to, this is just a smart play from Jasper here. Knows that he's getting walled off here. So just makes, and this is kind of a tough pass too, especially for like a freshman, to really kind of snake this one around. Like that's a small window right there. Like it's kind of it's a short pass, but it's not an easy one to make. Like you've got to be able to get it around your defender. Malachi has to be able to wall off his guy as well. And it's just an easy one for a Malachi layup right there. So this was more just to give a shout out to these 2 guys, because I think they've played really well and they've played really well together. But you can also kind of see what might happen when you don't have one of Lowe and Aberdeen in the game. And Cal, things can, while that's probably not the preferred rotation you'd have out there, you can still get things to work because Jasper knows how to keep the offense moving, and Malachi knows how to put himself into position to help himself and others. So Brandon, I'll just replay this one, and I'll let you talk about it real quick, and then we'll get into some questions.
I mean, this is a great example of those 2 guys, but I mean, you could show 7 different clips of these 2 guys. So, I just want to talk about them in general, really, that these guys have been awesome. And, again, I get it. It's Nicholls and Valparaiso. But, one of the things I was listening to the Ion College Basketball Podcast, the CBS Sports Network, with Gary Parrish, and I actually mentioned kind of the same thing on my own show this morning, that, we kind of decided coming in, we being the media, the fans, whatever, that, this freshman class was a big 3 with AJ Divansa, with Cameron Boozer, with Darren Peterson. And those are the 3 best freshmen. That's true. They're tier 1, but it doesn't have to just be about the big 3. This freshman class across college basketball is legitimately probably the best I've ever seen, in terms of talent level.
Caleb Wilson, Koa Pete.
Yeah. I mean, there was a Virginia Tech dude from Greece that had 33, 5, and 6.
Yeah, they're calling him Virginia Tech Luka, or Skinny Luka is what they're calling him now.
Yeah, and then the Arkansas freshmen have been good. Cam Ward came off the bench for Michigan State and had 18 and 10 in a win against Arkansas. And then guess who else had 18 and 10 off the bench? Malachi Moreno. Jasper Johnson's been good. These 2 Kentucky freshmen, I know that, I don't want to call them afterthoughts because they're Kentucky natives. They were a big deal to get, but let's not forget that Jasper Johnson was a really highly rated recruit. Let's not forget that Malachi Moreno was an McDonald's All-American. If it wasn't for Otega Owe coming back, if it wasn't for landing Jaylen Low and Modi Abate and Denzel Aberdeen in the transfer portal, these are freshmen that we would be talking about as oh man, Kentucky got 2 really awesome freshmen this year. But it's almost like they're the 7th and 8th most exciting things that happened to this Kentucky team. And that's okay. I'm not even saying that's wrong, but they do deserve their own flowers because these guys have been really good, will continue to be really good, and to me are special in the same way that some of these other freshmen are special nationally. And it's really fun to see what Jasper Johnson and Malachi Moreno are going to continue to do this season.
Yeah, neither of these kids lack confidence, and I think that's a huge thing, especially for someone like Jasper who's going to chuck up a lot of shots. You want him to have a bunch of confidence, and these 2 kids have plenty of it. And Malachi, man, he just inhales rebounds. He's still he's still a little slow around the basket, it feels like, in terms of being able to just throw down these dunks that he's just a little bit too slow, maybe getting up there. I think that'll change though over time as he just continues to adapt. But 18 and 10, I think he was 8 of 14 from the field. Hit 2 of his free throws this time instead of 1. I think he was 2 for 4. So that's just kind of gravy with him when he's making his free throws. But they've really been kind of exactly what you've wanted so far. Like, you don't need them to be superstars, but you need them to contribute. So at the beginning of this, all throughout the offseason, we were talking about guys that you needed to pop. Like, you needed one of so many guys to pop. Well, so far, pretty much the only guy that hasn't really popped has been Cam Williams. So you've gotten a lot of pops from all these guys, and you still Cam Williams is still doing good things. Like, we won't poop on him too much. He had there was one possession where he had back-to-back offensive tip rebounds. Like, he had a block shot. He got 4 really rebounds in general. Just he's doing everything right except hitting his threes. So once that happens, you're going to see him turn into an entirely different player, I think. But all right, Steven, if you don't mind to just put Brandon and I together on the screen here. I think we have 2 questions here. We'll start with this one. Hold on, we got to do this one here. Can Zack Geoghegan grow a lush Brandon Ramsey style beard? I can't. I've tried. I tried during the pandemic actually, and it went poorly. That's how I learned that I have red facial hair. So Brandon definitely takes the cake in terms of his beard because it is very lush, and it does make me jealous a little bit. But Matt G asked us a serious question. I'm not seeing the action from last year where they were constantly running 2 guards off the screen on the wing. Have they just changed the whole scheme, or just haven't worked on it yet? What do you have to say, Brandon?
I think we've seen it a couple of times. I remember even thinking back to the exhibitions, but there's a couple parts to that question. One, we haven't had to exactly empty the clip offensively, in order to get things done against Nicholls and Valparaiso. So I think you'll continue to see more and more of those wrinkles because no, we haven't changed the scheme necessarily. Now, do I think that you'll see more kind of true guard initiated offense with more ball screens, more handoff stuff? Yes, we will see that because the personnel is just different than it was last year. But one of the things that's kind of maybe making it so you don't notice what you're talking about as much is that teams are, at least to start the year, they're overplaying Kentucky on the perimeter a little bit. Like I think back to the Purdue exhibition, especially where Trent Noah was in some positions to run off this exact action like you're talking about. And I remember one clip especially that I highlighted where the Purdue defender got on the outside of Trent Noah, like he was in between Trent Noah and the sideline and was like forcing him to just back cut to go to the basket. So like Kentucky was trying to run him off a staggered double, just like you're talking about, but like the defense just says, no, you have to cut inside and play inside of the arc. And, teams are doing that a little bit with even Colin Chandler at this point, Cam Williams still some, certainly Trent Noah when he's in there. So I think you're just seeing that when guards are in positions to come off of that double screen, the defense is kind of just not letting it happen a little bit. But we'll continue to see more and more of that. I think, again, as you just do less in isolation because you're playing better teams. So I think it's not fair to completely evaluate that like until we play Louisville tomorrow night and until we play Michigan State this time next week and, get a few of those games and those film sessions under our belt. And then we'll kind of have a better feel for what this offense is really going to look like this year. But that's a great question.
Let's see. I think there was one other thing in here. I just wanted to bring this. This is more of a comment. Ooh, okay. No, never mind. Steven's got me here with an actual question. Okay, I didn't see this one. Jason Kimman 42K asked, "What do y'all think this team's biggest weakness is going to be?" I don't really know. What do you think, Brandon? I mean, we really only have the 1 game sample size of them actually making threes, so maybe that's something that you could still maybe be point at, but anything really stick out at least through 2 exhibitions and 2 regular season games?
Yeah, I mean, the easy answer would be the free throw shooting and potentially the 3-point shooting, but obviously, our most recent contest would say that those aren't going to be issues because they were 22 of 26 from the free throw line and shot almost 40% from 3-point range as well. I still think, and this is maybe a little bit of a hot take, at least within Big Blue Nation, but I do still worry about like, is our best player as good as the best player that you normally see on a national championship team? Like, do we have that first team All-American type guy where when the going gets tough, just goes and gets a bucket. Now, I think our team can encapsulate that. Like Jaylen Low can do it on this possession. Otega Owe can do it on this possession. Heck, Mo Diabate can do it against a mismatch. Or Colin Chandler can make a three. Jasper Johnson probably is actually the most equipped to do that. It was kind of like have a crappy offensive possession and all of a sudden, like, well, we just got a bucket because Jasper Johnson did something awesome. But like, honestly, that probably is my and again, like, when you ask about the weakness of a team that's probably one of the 5 best teams in college basketball, like, I always like, we're talking about like the margins of weaknesses. Like, yeah, we're talking about a weakness that could keep you from winning a national championship. I'm not talking about a weakness that means, oh, wow, we stink. So like, but yes, if I'm evaluating this team from cutting down the nets in early April in Indianapolis, it would be like, man, like, do we have that national player of the year candidate that normally, like a Walter Clayton Jr., whoever it may be, like, I don't know that we have that guy. Now, can you win a title without it? Probably, but it makes it a little bit easier when you have that guy. So, like, truthfully, that probably would be my concern.
I do think there's a chance that Jaylen Low develops into that guy. Like, I think by the end of the season, I think Jaylen Low's probably going to be, maybe not even by the end of the season, sooner rather than later. Like, when the game's on the line and it's late in the clock, the ball's probably going to go to Jaylen Low over Otega Owe or Jasper Johnson, would just be my guess because of how he can facilitate as well. Another minor thing, I think Otega has kind of upped his playmaking skills a little bit. I think he's gotten a little bit more comfortable in wanting to do that. Like, he's still chucked up a couple of bad shots at the rim, but I think in general he's improved on that a little bit. A comment here I want to throw up from Better Informed. BG looked like he's buying into the system, small sample size, but he looked great last game. Just want to talk about, just give BG a little bit of his flowers. I think he had 12 points, 4 rebounds in that last game, didn't miss a shot, 4 for 4. It's a lot easier in life when you're just getting kind of spoon-fed layups and stuff like that and shots around the rim. But he still had, like, if he had one shot where it was like right on the block there where he had to go over his defender. Like, if he's hitting those little, like, the 4 or 5 footers that I feel like he kind of struggled with last year, that's when I think he can really change things on offense, because when he's throwing up bricks off to the other side of the rim, like, that's just a wasted possession essentially. So any other comments here? Steven, if there's one that you saw and you want to throw up, go ahead. If not, we might talk about Louisville for just a second, maybe like a few more minutes. I don't think we have any more, so we'll do that then. No big Louisville film breakdown. Brandon, you're doing something along those lines though, right? Like on your own channel.
I saw some people. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to overly promote it on
do it
on here, but yeah, you can go subscribe to the Brandon Ramsey College Basketball Show. I will have something up tomorrow morning in terms of kind of a more nerdy film breakdown of Louisville. So I first of all, I appreciate you guys asking about that. But yeah, there will be some content coming in terms of breaking down Louisville. So yeah, you can look for that.
Do you want to give us just a couple minute breakdown of Louisville and what makes them tick? What should we look for as observers?
They're a lot like us, honestly, offensively. Like they look like Kentucky's offense at times when they're playing. They're going to play fast, probably even faster than we do. Like in terms of like really trying to race up the floor, really throwing it ahead, like taking that first early shot if it's there. So it's going to be in transition first and foremost, and then the half court, like it's zoom action, it's running off some staggered stuff, it's ball screens, it's Ali Khalifa looking for 15 million back cuts, like
which he'll hit a few.
It's not dissimilar to the pacing, the spacing, the passing, the cutting that you see from Coach Pope's offense here at Kentucky the last couple of years. So I actually think that's a little bit of a benefit for Kentucky. Like what we guard every day in practice is going to be kind of what we guard against Louisville. Now, the same could be said for Louisville, that like,
right.
It might make them better defensively because they're not, what they see from us isn't going to be as foreign to them as it is to some other teams on Kentucky's schedule. But their guards are really, really good. And like Mikel Brown is a dynamic playmaker. Ryan Conwell and McNeely, like those guys are big time shooters, and Conwell has some secondary playmaking. Like he's got some stuff to his game that he can be a really good player. Another Indiana kid, Pike High School, shout out. But the question is the front court. Like they don't have guys that can really score it around the basket. I think that like rebounding and scoring in the paint is going to be a major check mark in kind of the tail of the tape on Kentucky's side. I also think that the way that Louisville has guarded whether it's back to the Kansas exhibition or or their first two games, I think that you're going to see Kentucky lay it up a bunch against Louisville. Now, will they lay it up a bunch to offset the threes that Louisville might make? That could be the kind of the tail of this game. But they're going to get out and hard hedge and almost even double and blitz some of the ball screens, and they aren't necessarily great at kind of tagging on the backside. Kansas had a bunch of dunks, just kind of hitting their guy on the roll. Flory Badunga, another Kokomo High School Indiana shout out. He was dunking it. he was dunking it a bunch, and I think that Brandon Garrison, Malachi Moreno, you saw how good those guys have been on the roll in the first couple of games. They're going to be dunking it on Louisville some as well. But again, 3-point shooting can be the ultimate equalizer, and if Louisville makes 13 threes and Kentucky makes 7, well, it's going to be a tough night at the Yum Center. But I think that I'll say this. Louisville has an excellent offense. Kentucky has an excellent defense. Louisville has a good defense, but I think Kentucky still has a really good offense. Like I think Kentucky's offense is better than Louisville's defense. And then if you kind of let Louisville's offense and Kentucky's defense be the two kind of elite strengths, then I think Kentucky still wins in the margins there. But it's going to be a really tough game. I mean, Louisville is legitimately really good, and their guards are such that they could play a game where it's just hard to keep up. But I trust Kentucky's defense enough that I think it'll certainly be harder for Louisville to do what they do.
Yeah, I think Mikal Brown's going to go and he's going to take a bunch of shots. I think the biggest fear is that all three of Brown, McNeely, and Conwell all shoot the ball well. Like if they are all hovering around the 50% or better, then you're probably not in a good spot if you're Kentucky. Like you don't want Conwell and McNeely making 4 or 5 threes each. That's probably your worst case scenario. So yeah, like you're saying, Kentucky definitely has the edge in the front court. You maybe give Louisville the edge in the backcourt there, and just kind of see how those two. I mean, I think this is just going to be a very close game. I think this it's going to be very exciting. I think you're actually going to see a very high scoring game. Like I would not be shocked if both these teams get into the 90s for this game. But Kentucky's going to have to hit their shots, and we really only have a 1-game sample size out of 4 where they were really hitting their shots. So if that can carry over into Tuesday, I think you're going to see an awesome game. I'm going to predict Kentucky to win. I don't know what my score will be yet. I haven't done any of my Louisville tape or film room yet, so I'm going to do some of that stuff throughout the day and throughout tomorrow morning before I actually log my prediction on KSR or whatever I think what will actually happen. But Brandon, I assume you're going to pick a Kentucky win for this one, and when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I'm going to pick a Kentucky win. I do think Kentucky's is kind of the more complete team, but to just throw a couple of numbers out there, Ken Palm right now projects this one as Louisville 84, Kentucky 83. I saw the initial FanDuel line came out last night with Louisville minus 3.5, which was actually a little bit higher than I would have expected. Do you remember the over?
It's the home court bump.
Yeah, it's the home court. Do you remember the over under? I got it here, 169.5. So I mean that's a lot of points. It's
85s.
Yeah, mid 80s. So, but that I mean heck, like if the winning team scores 90, that's not going to shock me at all in this one. Like if it's kind of first to 90 wins, that wouldn't surprise me at all in this one. But yeah, I think Kentucky wins, but I wouldn't want to bet the ranch on it, so to speak.
Yeah, the Yum Center is going to be packed for the first time since the last Kentucky game, because that's the only game that their fans seem to care about. Their players as well, apparently, in post-game press conferences. So we're going to wind things down here. I think we peaked at 165 live viewers, so big shout-out to everyone that tuned in. If you came in late, definitely circle back around and rewatch this. We did a bunch of stuff talking about the Kentucky offense and defense. So, but thanks for everyone for joining. Shout out to our sponsor, LG and EKU. We will see you all. So we'll probably do some sort of Louisville breakdown as well later on. But until then, we will see you all later. Go Cats.